Oh, there you go. A delayed round of applause. I actually didn't tell you that, but you know how it is. So tonight we are late, probably for the first time in a long time. So we have a topic of sustainability tonight, and quite interestingly enough, there's some extreme traffic blockages around this area, and it really did put a spanner in the works for those who wanted to start on time. So that could be an interesting kind of segue into tonight's topic, which is all about sustainability. So this is episode 454, and we've entitled it, Building a Greener Future, Lessons from a Sustainability Entrepreneur. So in a short while, we'll introduce Todd, who can tell you a little bit more about that. But some of the key takeaways that we're going to learn about tonight will be from apprentice to entrepreneur, discover the lessons Todd learned from 30 years of trade and commercial experience in the electrical industry. We're also going to learn about sustainability in business, explore strategies to integrate sustainable practices into business operations and create lasting value. Another one of our takeaways tonight will be rebuilding from scratch. Learn how Todd overcame challenges, including starting over in Bali to build 2 thriving companies, right? So this is some takeaways we're going to learn about tonight. A little bit about Todd, I think will be good. Founder of the EES Group and Poolwise Indo. I think that's Indo, right? Strategy, partnerships, market entry, who's very passionate about sustainability and supporting those in need. Now, as I mentioned before, this is episode number 454, and you know what SpeakuP Monday is all about are 3 things. So number 1 is that people inspire people. Number 2 is unity in diversity, and number 3 is entrepreneurship and social impact. All right, and we're known as a gateway to Indonesia and Australia, where I spent 25 years. There you go, the Aussie's coming back, Toddy. There you go, it's okay, mate. And we help foreign companies, large and small, either enter here, Indonesia, Bali and Indonesia at large, or local Indonesian companies grow within Indonesia. And our work has been endorsed by Forbes Business Council, by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy here in Indonesia, as well as Bali Tourism Board, Bali Tourism Promotion, and we're number 1 Bali Changemaker as well. So that's probably enough of an intro from me. Todd, firstly, welcome to the show. An unusual start, being that we had this tremendous traffic situation here in Bali. Now, because you've been here for like a while, have you seen something like this before?
Not on the shortcut. Last year at the airport, when everyone had to get up and walk to the airport, but no, this is crazy. Yeah. This is next level.
I know, isn't it? And you know, when you look at something like this, right, and again, our topic is about sustainability, but one of the things which I realize about you is that you're an extremely creative, innovative person who looks at something that probably we all look at. This might be a difference here, or something that you can learn, where you look at an everyday thing, and while everyone else looks, they don't really see what's happening, but they look. Whereas someone like yourself, you look and you see, and you think, well, hang on a second, that's a challenge or a problem or an obstacle in that activity that's happening on a day-to-day basis. I can do X, Y, or Z, or a mixture of all 3, and create a product that solves that problem, right? So that, to me, kind of sums up the bit of you that I know, right? So if that is the case, you know, probably one of the first things that comes up is, you know, where did that gift, skill, mindset, or creativity of yours, where did it begin? And this is probably to the ones out there who are budding entrepreneurs, right? Who maybe have a desire to become more, and maybe look at you with 30 years of experience. But how would you answer that question to start us off?
Well, first of all, if you stop saying 30 years, because it makes me feel old. I think for me, I've always had a drive to want to be something and do something, not 9 to 5 kind of thing. In 2010, I got lucky enough to be introduced to Richard Branson, and we spent the day together, essentially. And one of the things he said to me was, if you can solve a problem, you will make money. There is that's how businesses work. You've got to disrupt and you've got to solve. And I think I took that on board and really, really sort of thought more into it. And then everything from then on, whenever I was looking at something, not even in my field, I'm like, why doesn't someone do that? To me, it became clear. And I think it was just a mindset change because someone told me. And sometimes you just need the most obvious thing pointed out.
I mean, I know there's a lot more to it, but I guess the question that kind of follows that one is that, so were you born like that, or was it because somebody like Richard, Sir Richard Branson, said to you, hey, and then your mind attuned to it? What would you say? Where did it come from?
I think I had it when I was young. I mean, I remember one story where I went and cut flowers out of a neighbour's garden and went and sold them back to her and got in a lot of trouble. Not seeing anything wrong with that as a kid, just trying to, we used to collect the old glass Coke bottles and take them to the shop, and I'd be walking down the street with 20 glass bottles and not even tell my mum I was going. I was always looking for a way, not just to make money, but just to create something. I don't know. And then, like I said, when Richard Branson, then a couple other people said the similar things, is, if you can solve a problem, there's a business. That's what business is. Once I started really, I guess, honing in on that, my eyes opened, my world changed, and I see things all the time. There's so many things that I look at it and go, if I had the skill set, I would do that. But then again, there's too many buses to catch as well. So, stick to what you're good at, or stick to what you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've always had it. I've always cut someone else's flowers and sold them back to them. It's
confidence, right? So with entrepreneurship, it can be quite lonely, right? It's not, things don't always go to plan. You're in a situation where maybe the 9-to-5ers, nothing wrong with that. Well, I've been 9 to 5, and so on and so on and so on. But those perhaps who are drawing a paycheck believe that they have the sense of security in that, hey, I clock in, I clock out, I'm done, I go back to my life, right? So being an entrepreneur, that isn't always the case, all right? I'm putting it very nicely, obviously. So, I mean, if you could choose 3 values or skills or ways of kind of operating that have been critical or crucial to your success, which 3 gifts, skills, attributes, or learned behaviors would you say would be the most important?
I think the number one is knowing that you don't know everything and you can't do everything. The arrogance I had when I was younger, that I could be the CEO and run the company and be the marketing, and I could do any role. I was so full of it. The biggest lesson I learned is the old Henry Ford. Get better people around you. I have amazing people that work with me, not for me, with me, and we don't. I'm not the boss in any way. I'll get in there and sweep the floors, kill some bugs, whatever it is. It's the biggest one for me is finding better people, or better at what they do. I'm good at what I do, and it's a very small patch of what I'm good at, but I try and stick to that. So apart from that,
so that's number one. Number one for you is, and by the way, we don't script anything, right? So that's also why sometimes you ask a guest a question and they're like, oh, hang on a second, I don't know that one, or it's an answer I need to look for. And for me, I prefer that kind of interview because then you get the authenticity of the person, and at the same time you get to know him too, right? So I've given him some more time sneakily there. So that's one. How about the other 2?
So I think you're getting the right people, getting funded, trying to start something. I bootstrapped. You mentioned it earlier. I had to start again after a divorce. Let's just say it, and I bootstrapped, and it was hard. It was really hard because you want to scale, but you can't, and if I'd had more funding back then, it'd be bigger now, and it's kind of feels like this extrapolation kind of thing. So have a good business plan and get funded. I think it's important. People go in underfunded, under asset, and just the stress levels go through the roof. And number 3 is like, have someone good to be able to bounce off, whether it's your partner, business partner, life partner, a mentor. It is a lonely. Not many people understand. I don't know how many percent people are 9 to 5. They don't get it, and then when you fail, it's the finger's pointed. I think I've failed more times than most people have tried, and that's the difference.
How do you deal with failure, right? I mean, you said you failed, and I think most entrepreneurs who I've interviewed, and there have been quite a few, all have failed, right? But it's not necessarily something that you like to do, but it's something that seems to be part of the course. So when some of those failures for you can think back and get your mind and body back into the moment of, number 1, how did it feel? And then number 2 and 3, what did you do next to find a way to keep going or to come back?
I hate it. But nothing goes up in a straight line. So, it's part of life. So you're going to make mistakes. I think the key is learning and not being. I think arrogance is huge for people. So, the ego and it wasn't my fault. Whatever, you justify it. If you take it and own it, and don't do it again, it's actually not a failure. It's just a speed hump. It's just a learning lesson. So. Yeah, look, I've failed. Like I said, I believe I've failed more times than most people have tried. And that's the difference, is I'll just keep getting up and keep going. It's like Rocky Balboa. Not saying I'm Rocky Balboa, but you get down, you get back up again. You get hit down, you get back up again.
Why? Why'd you get back up again? Well, why don't you, decide, what? Pack my bags, not for me, I'm out of here. I want to go and get a job with someone else. Let them pay me. I don't want to have this headache anymore. I
could never do that. I could never work for anyone. I've got to drive, and I can't not do that. It's just who I am. I could never work a 9 to 5 for someone else.
Where did that come from, do you think? If I asked you, I'll give you a little bit of time on this one, because I know it's not what you're thinking. But yeah, so put it like this. There are people out there now, either here in the audience or watching online, who are like, and we'll get to the green and the sustainability soon, but they're saying, right, I do want to become this entrepreneur. There is this instant gratification thing that's going out at the moment, which I see everywhere, right? That I want to be the next Elon Musk. I'm going to do it in a year. I want to be the next Richard Branson. I'm going to do it in 2 years. I want to be the next blah, blah. I'm going to do it in 3 months. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to collapse and fall into a heap and say the world is unfair or something, right? So it's important, right? So then kind of going back to the question then, why do you get back up again? And what is it, do you think, in your past or in your childhood that just stops you from working for other people and drives you to create something for yourself and other people?
I don't know. I mean, I've always had it. I've always, our neighbourhood friends, we used to have these clubs, and there was a president, and I was always fighting to be the president, and I've always just had that drive. Look, I got my apprenticeship. I did my electrical apprenticeship, worked for an electrical company, went up north in Australia, did some work up there, found out I had a health issue, ended up working for an electrical wholesaler, did that for 10 years. That was great. But I had this idea, which was my very first business, and I spent 3 or 4 years writing a business plan while I was working. And I look back, I was so naive. But what I put into that, the amount of time and effort I put into that, and then when I finally found someone to fund it, I was beside myself. And the day we launched, we made $1.5 million on the first day. The GFC and the mining boom kind of, we didn't fail. I decided to close it because we weren't doing the service I wanted. But that business led into the green stuff more, and it's just funny how you go. I mean, I think you've just got to go. You get that wake pulling behind you, and when all is said and done, more is said and done for most people.
That thing about because you mentioned it 3 or 4 times now about funding, right? So what is the key to getting funding, acquiring funding, attracting funding? Because in all of the startups that want to scale or want to do something that's quite impactful, it appears that you do need funding at some point, whether it's you taking it out of your own pocket, or whether it's you asking your mum and your dad or your friends, or beyond that circle. You know, there needs to have that rocket fuel for the rocket to take off. And let's be straightforward, most of the time, you know, a rocket going into space, I'm not a scientist, disclaimer, but we know that most of the fuel is burnt in that first starting period, trying to get out of the pull of the atmosphere of the Earth. Once it's past that, then there's less. And startups tend to be the same way, right? Where you're burning, and you reach a point where things begin to turn around, and that's where you need money maybe to scale. So going way past the question, going back to the question, so what is the key for you that you can let people know to obtaining, acquiring funding? What's maybe 3 things, 1 thing, but 3 is a nice number.
It's too many. Look, I'm not good at raising funds. I've raised, I'll say a bit, you know, it's a lot of money to people that have helped, and the people that have invested in me will get a great return. I'm in the process of looking for my Harry Sonnenborn, which I don't know if you've ever watched the movie The Founder, but it's about Ray Kroc at McDonald's. And everyone knows Ray Kroc, but no one knows Harry Sonnenborn. And there would be no McDonald's without Harry Sonnenborn. He was Ray Kroc's right-hand man. He was the numbers guy. He was the guy that turned around and said, "You're not a burger company, you're a real estate company. Let's restructure." I'm still looking for that person. If you're out there, contact me. It's a specialty field, and it depends how much you want. Like you said, mum and dad, friends and family, that's always the first. That's your seed, you know, your angel. That's how most people seem to start, and that's what I've done. But I'm not good at raising money. I'm an electrician by trade. I don't have the vernacular, the vocab to sit down with someone and talk on their level. So to answer that question, I think if you're good at that, do it. If you're not, find someone who can help you. But I'm not good at that. I'm an electrician. Yeah, like, and money's hard, and there's a lot of sharks out there. You know, so you've got to protect yourself along the way as well. So that goes back to having good people around you to help you protect all the way through. Because we get desperate, and then you give away 90% of your business, 90% of your dream for some money, and then now you're working for someone else again. Not going to do it.
So one of the things which is coming up, that this division of labor, right? Finding something that you're good at. If you're not good at it, find somebody else who is good at that. You know, and obviously trust comes into that, and we'll get into that maybe not tonight, let's see. But okay, so electrician, yet you have this ability to see things that people don't see and to put things together. So if I were to ask you, which I kind of know the answer to, but maybe people don't. So what is your skill set? Like, where is or are the places that Todd shines? What would you say?
I describe it, and I did it today. I describe it as I'm the guy that says, here's our boat, that's where we're going. There's the big picture, there's the vision, there's the goal, there's the dream. I need someone to drive that boat, or I need a team to drive that boat. You put me at the boat, driving that boat, it's going to crash. So I always have a good GM, I always have a good CFO, I always have a good CEO, whatever. I'm sort of in the background saying, this is where we want to go. How do we get there? Let's do this as a team. Sometimes you have to put your foot down because, you know, you know what you know. But for me, yeah, it's stick to your lane. I mean, so many people want to do everything, think they can. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Because, you know, if you're going to get into a fight, I'd rather have Mike Tyson fighting for me than me. So, yeah, stick to your lane, find good people. And, you know, I don't know if everyone knows, but the Henry Ford, he can push a button. They can ask him any question, and he can just push a button and get the right person to come and answer it. that's kind of the mentality that I stick to.
Now, one of the other things that, again, we had a brief chat like a week ago or so, and one of the things that I wrote down, right, it was this quote from Sir Richard Branson, and it goes something like this, that apparently sums him up, but I'll let him speak for himself. I won't speak for you, Todd, which was, right, bite off more than you can chew, then learn how to chew, right? So bite off more than you can chew, then learn how to chew. So why is that statement like one of the most important quotes for you? And like, how has it played out? Give us some examples.
That's kind of my cornerstone one. That's I go to, you know that. I go back to that one all the time because, again, when all is said and done, more is said than done. If you don't go and do it, it's not going to happen. And a lot of people keep talking about it and they don't do it. And it's scary to step out. It's scary to go quit your job and go do it. It's scary not to know where the next paycheck's coming from. But the learn how to chew bit, I loved. It's like, you know what? Just go and do it. But plan it. He's not saying just quit your job and go. Plan it. I spent 3 years writing a business plan. The reason I got to meet him was because I launched that business and he liked it. And we got to talk about it. But that bite off more than you can chew is basically step out and have a go. Planned. But then learn. Like business and life is learning. I look back, and like I said before, I was so naive. I look back a year ago, still, there's things I go, I shouldn't have done that. But learn how to chew, get out there. When I started the electrical business, energy business here, the sustainability business, I didn't know where I was going to get the first customer from. I just started talking to people and we got introduced to the right person and it built from there.
So let's go into that. So maybe your time, I was going to use the word brag, but for some people it might sound like that. For others it's just the truth as they see it, and for others it might be somewhere in between, right? Wherever you are and it's fine. But give us some examples. So in other words, this is the time where you say, right, this business I developed for this and this reason, and this is what it did. This business I developed for this and this reason, and I'm looking to sell it. This business developed for this and this reason, and this is one I'm currently building now. 3 examples in your own time.
Okay, so the first company that I launched was like it depends what country you're from, but you've been in Australia, RAC, NRMA, the car breakdown service, but for your home. So we had people paying us a membership fee, and if they had an electrical or plumbing fault, we sent someone out for free. Worked so well. We had one of the biggest real estate companies put their whole rental roll through us on the first day, paid us up front, 1.5 million. It was like, wow, okay. All
right, so just to be isolated. So 1.5 million, boom, and the service was?
The service was that if they had electrical or plumbing fault in any of those properties, we sent somebody out for free.
Okay.
They just paid for the parts.
Okay.
A bit like if your car breaks down, the RAC or whoever you call it, they come out and put petrol in your car. You pay for the petrol, but you don't pay for the guy.
Got it. Everyone got it? Stay with me. Yes? Yep. Okay, good. So how did that thought come about? Because for everybody sitting here, it seems quite obvious, right? In a way. So do you remember the moment that you saw it, and how did it feel, and how did that process go through?
I remember I was an electrician, and I was working at an old pensioner's house, and something, I can't remember what it was, but something wasn't working. I had to go fix it. It took so long because the cable was hidden, and long story short, it took like 3 or 4 hours, and it should have been a 5-minute job. Okay. It's not that I wanted to stay that long. It was a Friday. I wanted to go home, but I had to get this fixed. The poor lady at the end of it, and I was working for somebody else, but the poor lady at the end of it was a pensioner, and she goes, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. And I was like, look, I'm not going to charge overtime, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, why isn't there something like the RAC for your home? That was the thought, and I didn't give it much thought for a couple of years after that. And then one day I was sitting there and I'm like, wait, isn't there an RAC for your home? And I sat down and started writing that business plan. And
so thought first of, hey, something here doesn't work, right? Personal experience. Next thing was like, well, why isn't someone doing that? right? And then the third thing is, well, if there's no one doing it and it's clearly a problem, why didn't I do it?
Can it be done?
Yeah, can it be done, right? And then after that, what did you do next to get that up and running?
So I wrote the business plan. I got some help from a professor at a university. I went and sat with him and said, please. He gave me a software pro that really helped. And then I shopped at people, anyone I could. I didn't know anyone. Like I'm working for somebody else. I was talking to one of my customers one day, and I told him about it, and he was like, "How much do you need?" And I told him, and he said, "Let's do it." And I just about fell over backwards. So it did really well until it didn't. But that was because when I wrote, and so I laugh about, when I wrote the business plan, it should have been a franchise model. In Australia at the time, we had the mining boom, and the wages for an electrician went from here to here. And I've budgeted for here. If it was a different model, it would have still be going.
Beautiful. So that's one. Give us another example, and we're going to drift gently into sustainability as we go. So maybe one of the green ones.
So when I shut that electrical business, we had electricians and plumbers working for us. And we got a phone call one day saying, can you help us with a solar job that has to be finished by this date on a retirement village? The company that was doing it can't do it. And I just happened to have 40 electricians sitting around doing nothing. Like literally, Bali. Literally that day. So my guys went out there. We had no idea. Solar was brand new. And so we did it, and we ended up being on the news and, this whole solar thing. The day we finished, we got a phone call from one of our customers that said, come back, strike's over, because our guys were working for another mob. So we kind of got into the sustainability. That's how I fell into it. I say sustainability. I call solar renewables. So I break things up into two, renewables and sustainables. Solar, you're making power. My life is all about reducing power. Okay. So solar doesn't work right now. So, yeah, I think... That business sort of pushed me down. It's funny, you start over here and you end up over here, and I had no intention for that.
So let's isolate it again. So one business finishing, 40 electricians, a phone call saying, hey, we need help with this. Hang on a second, there might be something here. So again, this thing about looking but not seeing, or looking and seeing, and this thing about, I'm just drawing some parallels here, this thing about, well, hang on a second, that's not happening. What if? And then saying, well, maybe I'll give this a go, right? So tell us what happened next.
So then I got introduced to some guys who had a specific product that's been around 40 years. It's used for lots of different things. And I don't know why or how, but I had the idea that I wonder if this will work on swimming pools. Yeah. And a friend of mine was running a pool, and I said, can I try? And he said, yes. And long story short, I blew up the pump. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good. So that got fixed. I said, can I try again? He said...
So just to clarify, so now you've got one product, and you've seen across the industry to another industry and said, I wonder if that way to reduce the power, the energy, can be reduced. So now you're looking at pool pumps that obviously use a lot of energy, and can this widget, this product, which you're going to say in a minute, can this widget reduce the amount of power going in that will then reduce the bill that they have to pay, that will save them money?
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, so I tried it, and it worked eventually. And the savings were huge.
Huge? What percentage?
About 50%, 60%.
So 50 or 60% saving in power going to your pool.
Which was, for a commercial pool we did, was about $100,000 a year Australian.
That's how much they saved. They saved, so one widget saved $100 grand.
One room.
One room. Okay.
I think there was 6.
Okay.
So these big commercial pools, they, especially in Australia and UK and stuff, that UK doesn't have pools, but they run 24/7, right? So this is where solar and that doesn't work. So when I did it, I used a product called a VSD. They've been around 40 years. If you get on an escalator and it speeds up, that's a VSD making the motor go faster. That's what they're on mining. They're on motors all over the world. No one had just gone and done it and put on a pool. That was all. And I thought, there's a lot of pools, and there's a lot of wasted power. So we did it, and it worked, and then it sort of grew from there. We went to the next one, did the next one, did the next one. That was all in Australia, and then it just proved itself, and it kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy almost. It was just the next one.
Can you drop a few names? So what clients do you have around the world or in Indonesia or Australia using this product? Just so people get an idea of the scale.
Yeah. So in Australia, it's pretty much all government. So local government swimming pools, they're the big ones. In Bali, I moved here in 2018, and I thought, this will work. And nobody would touch us because they said, where have you done this? And I said, Australia. Like, we don't care. Where have you done it here? And I hadn't done it anywhere. So I got introduced to an amazing guy by the name of Marco, who is the vice president of the Hyatt.
The Hyatt Hotel Group.
The Hyatt Hotel Group. And he didn't believe me. I told him what I could do, and he thought I was full of it. But he said, have a go. And we got more than what we said we were going to get him. And he's actually done a really nice video for us on our LinkedIn page. So because we'd done the Hyatt, then it rolled out things like Four Seasons, Hard Rock, Finn's, I'm trying to think, different hotels. We're opening up in Australia now. We're opening up in South Africa. We're talking to big groups, and it's slowly starting to snowball. It's been 3 or 4 years of slog. It was actually it was easier during COVID when you could talk to a GM.
And look, what would you value that business at? If you can say, if you want to say, if you don't want to say, that's okay. But just so people get an idea of the scale of this.
Honestly, no idea at the moment. Yeah. I say that because once we open in Australia in January, I think South Africa's hopefully around March, that number changes ridiculously. So, look, we've got over 100 devices installed in Bali. In Bali. We're doing some more islands shortly. But the model we run as well is we install it for free and share the savings. So it's a passive income.
Got it. So, in other words, I have a pool, maybe a big hotel group, whatever it is, or an umbrella, because hotel groups have got many hotels, right? So, one hotel group can be many hotels. And then you go in and say, right, we can fix this for you. We can reduce your power consumption, reduce your bills. And you've given us a number before, which was 100K in Aussie for whichever size that was. So, you come over here and say, we won't charge you for the install, but we'll share in the savings. And then that creates a residual income with that, because they want to keep on going because they're saving a lot, and you work out what that percentage is, whatever that might be. Got it. Okay.
And so with that, I mean, we started here in COVID. No one was spending money, but they were looking for ways to save money. So the idea of the risk-free, no pay sort of thing made sense. Capital heavy, again, funding. But now we get paid for 100 devices every month, and next week we put another one in, we get paid for 101. Next week we put another one in, we get paid for 102. And so it just builds a good income stream. It's a rental. It's like a photocopying machine.
Like even though photocopy machine. There you go. Radio's awake. It almost feels like, in a way, I'm not sure if you're feeling this too. It's almost like the accidental entrepreneur, right? In a way, right? Because he did one thing that was deliberate, that then led to another. Like for instance, just here in Bali, one thing which I've noticed is that, again, we help businesses move, right, from different countries to Bali. We help businesses in Bali grow. And the reason why we do that, or how we do that, is three ways. One is a very strong immersive feasibility, where you're literally meeting the heads of 10 different market sectors to discover the nuances of that industry completely. Number two is that then we're able to connect you with the shepherds and sheep in business, those who have leverage and those who are the end consumer. We know the ones who have leverage in about 10 market sectors. So then we connect you with the leverage, the leveragers, right? And the third one is about organic promotion. But the interesting thing I noticed about being here in Bali is that it feels so fluid, whereas if you come here with a certain thing, I'm here to do this, by the time 6 months, 10 months, 12 months are gone, it's like, well, I started there and I ended up here, this fluidity, as opposed to in maybe other countries where it's like, I'm doing this is what I started, this is how I am 10 years later. But how would you say about that?
I don't know many business. You look at Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't know any business that stayed what it was, and especially with change and technology and things, you've got to adapt, right? Like, look at Blockbuster, gone. But Netflix, they had no idea what they were going to do. Yeah. I thought I was going to be doing breakdowns for houses. I'm over here doing pools in Bali. Opening up in different countries and stuff. So that I think for me that goes back to the bite off more than you can chew and learn to chew. If you're doing something, it's kind of like you attract stuff because people see you're doing something and they're like, hang on a minute. It's not just me that sees it. Sometimes people come to me and say, well, can you help with this? Or I need you to meet so-and-so. But if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, that wouldn't happen. Yeah. So
almost like you make your own luck.
I'm lucky. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I'm a 4-year overnight success. So it's, for me, you've just got to go. But it's got to be planned and funded. Get those two right and go. And then people come to you. It's not you going to everyone. Yeah. Like people come and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or you should meet so-and-so. Or do you do this? Yeah. And then that opens up other opportunities. We're about to release a product here soon that we can reduce the cost of running your air conditioner by half.
Can you tell us more about that?
Nah.
Good.
to be continued.
To be continued. Sometimes you ask questions and you don't know what the answer will be. Sometimes you know exactly what the answer is going to be.
We can talk about it offline.
I know.
But yeah,
that got a few laughs here, by the way, in case you're wondering, right?
But that came from because I do this, and now it's like, can you add this to this, and so now we got. I mean, the two biggest power consumers here are pools and air conditioners. So we save on average 60% on a pool pump. We're going to be doing between 35 and 50% on an air conditioner.
Wonderful. So saving 60% when it comes to fuel pump, and then when it comes to air conditioning, 30 to 50?
Yeah, depending on different factors, but yeah.
Okay. Well, to be continued, those in the real estate industry should be grabbing his number. I know, he's writing it down. So if you're in the real estate, if you're in any business that uses a lot of air conditioning, you might want to hit him up. Now, if we have this third microphone, Brother Guzman, all right, I have a feeling. So we love questions, right? So if you do have any questions about this, feel free to raise your hand, and that microphone, the one that you practiced on before, will come to you, and now you know not to put it down here because we're not going to hear you, so you know to put it quite close to your mouth and ask your question. Now, the chances are we have this other camera over here, not this one, but this one. Now, that turns around, and so if you do ask a question, you will be on camera, you will be live on camera. So if that's what you don't want, then maybe don't ask a question. Ask somebody else to ask it for you, or ask it later, right? Just so you know. But if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand. Now, in the meantime, I want to see how we're going with these takeaways that I pay absolutely no attention to. But let's see how we're going. So from apprentice to entrepreneur, discover the lessons. I think we've done that. Sustainability in business, explore strategies to integrate sustainable practices into business operations and create lasting value. We could probably do a little bit more on that one. And then rebuilding from scratch, learn how Todd overcame challenges, including starting over in Bali to build 2 thriving companies. Start at the end. So rebuilding from scratch. So as we mentioned before, this entrepreneur's journey is not an easy one. It's not for the faint-hearted. And things don't always go to plan, and you can be in some pretty dicey situations, right? So rebuilding, earlier on you mentioned that, in a way you're not sure where this came from in you of not wanting to work for other people, right? Part of this conversation that we have. So there's three audiences, right? So one is you and I, or me and the guest. Next is those sitting down over here, and the third is those who are looking online. So the idea with this is that each of those three receives value. The online ones get the quick questions and nope, not going to answer it, right? But they get the bullet points. Boom. The ones in the audience also get that, but also get to talk to each other afterwards and to talk to Todd, obviously, our guests, or guests, plural. So that's the value for you. With the person which Todd is sitting there tonight, the value for them, so if it's someone who's been interviewed a lot, then in general, and you've seen this all the time, right, where they get asked the same questions in the same order, and it's kind of boring in a way. It's like, well, I kind of know this already, and you're looking for that thing that you don't know about them. So with you, what it is that when you get a question that maybe you don't know the answer to, or a question you kind of have to go and look back there, it's what I've noticed with all these interviews that we've done is that days later I get a call from them saying, you know, I couldn't answer that question. I remembered what it was. And then that starts a chain reaction of events that take it somewhere else, which is really quite interesting. So I don't know what that is for you, but just out of many times we've done this, you know, I've found that that's a value for the guest. You know, sharing their knowledge, yes, but also having those questions come up, which are those which maybe they don't know the answer to, or they kind of have to think about, and then later on it just kind of trickles in. They're just like ideas or downloads kind of come in, and then through that something is birthed or remembered, or taking a different kind of road. It's really interesting. So questions, anybody remember, raise your hand if you have them, and we'll come back to you. So let's talk about this starting from scratch again. So if there were some distilled points of focus, wisdom, of advice that you could give to someone watching now, starting from scratch, what would you say those 1, 2, or 3 points would be?
And for me, starting from scratch, whether it's starting again or just starting, it's the same thing. So I go back to the same things, really. It's you've got to be organised and have your business plan. It's just, you can't run into a footy field without a plan. You've got to have your plan, and you know, you SWOT. What if this happens? Just, you know, so. But then get funded. Don't try and do it too much on your own. Bootstrap it. It's very hard. You're better off staying where you are until you get that funding, and then make sure you got the right people around. I was bad. Like, I was like, woohoo, I got money. You got to remember, I mean, I'm an employee, and all of a sudden I got this money in the bank account, and I'm not accountable. I can click the button and the money goes. So I learnt pretty early on, not that I listened to myself, but like now I don't let myself have bank accounts with the businesses. The GM has it. And we always have it's not because, well, it is trust, but it's a good practice. So one person loads payments, one person approves them. They have to collude to do the wrong thing. It can't be accidental. So again, it's prepare, fund, get good people around you.
Got it. And look, one thing you mentioned a few times now about business plans. So let's kind of drill down a little bit in that. So for you, and you mentioned SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And obviously a business plan is all crucial. It's all important. But if you had to kind of nail it down and say, whatever your business plan, these are the 1, 2, or 3 areas that you have to be accurate, that you have to, I don't want to use the word get right, because it is what it is, right? But these are the 3 areas which are of critical importance. Which 1, 2, or 3 areas of the business plan would you say that is, or they are?
Number 1, what you think you need, double it. It's just double it. There's a good rule of thumb. Number 2, I guess, would be succession. So when I first start any business, I'm the one doing it. But then very quickly I'm looking for the right person to then run it. So have that plan of who you're looking for, what their role is going to be, and what that succession looks like. How much control do they have? When do they have to come to you? That kind of stuff. And I guess marketing's probably a big one as well. I mean, how do you get to your market? Off the top of my head, that would be the big three. I mean, your SWOT analysis is important. I'm no expert on any of this, apart from making mistakes and then going, oh, I'm not doing that again. So, for me, that's the big one was whatever you think you're going to need, double it. That's so important.
Nice. So, okay, I think there's one other question that I had. Well, one area that I wanted to cover again to make sure that we covered it. So, sustainability in business. So we called this Building a Greener Future, Lessons from a Sustainability Entrepreneur. So when you look at the future, right, a greener future, the businesses that you've started, as you mentioned, you have, so what did you say, sustainability and renewable, right? Sustainability and renewable, there you go. And you focus on one side of that at the moment. So when you look at the future through the spectrum of that, is there anything, two parts, either that you would love to see and or support that you need, or not need, support that you require? For example, I have a business for sale in Australia. It's this, and this. If you're interested, hit me up, right? So future first, right? So greener future, so we've called it, sustainability and so on. What is it that you would like to see?
I'd like to see people being efficient. At the end of the day, we're going to use power. When I talk about sustainability, for me, that I'm not waste, I'm not water, I'm power. So for me, it's like, these pools. A few years after I started doing it, and everyone used to say, you can't do that. The big pump manufacturers started bringing out these 3-speed and variable speed pumps for mum and dad pools. And I'm like, see, you can do that. In fact, you should do that. I believe now in California, you're not allowed to have a normal pump. You have to have a variable speed pump. You can't make that on a commercial one. That's why we attach ours. But for me, it's like, you do what you can. If you're just wasting it for the sake of wasting it, I love the saying, we don't inherit the earth from our parents, we borrow it from our kids. So if we all do a little bit, I mean, it came up the other day, the guys posted on LinkedIn, we've saved, since we started here, we've just ticked over 5 million kilowatt hours of power saved.
5 million kilowatt hours saved.
Yep. It's a lot of power. While we're sitting here now, those pool pumps are running, saving power. Solar's not going to do that, unless you've got batteries. But then you've got battery. That's a whole other thing. So, for me, it's just people would be efficient. Like try and in your environment, whether it's your home or your business or your whatever, just look and say, well, how can we be better? It's going to cost you some money, but it's going to save you money. There's solutions out there. Ours is one.
Reach out. So if I'm laughing because I know the question that's coming and I can't believe that it's the question I'm going to ask, but I'm going to do it anyway because we do it just like this. If there was a genie and a lamp, right? Who saw Aladdin? Come on, just raise your hand. Aladdin, everybody. Aladdin. Aladdin. She is not telling the truth. She is not being truthful. So Aladdin, right? So it's like a genie in a magic lamp. So you rub the lamp, and his genie comes out, right? And you have 3 wishes, right? And it's like, which 3 master? Which 3 wishes would you like? Okay. So we're not going to give Todd 3. We're going to give him 1. Right? Okay, maybe 2 or 3 is fine. So where you're at now. So you've got businesses in motion. You've got things happening, right? So rubber magic lamp. You mentioned already the fella who assisted Ray Kroc, right? That's one thing that you would love, right? To be around you, that you could refer to, be in business with, and so on. You have 2 wishes left, right? So which other 2 things would they be?
Number 1, I'd wish for unlimited wishes. I've always said that. My Harry Sonnenborn is basically my focus and priority. Finding that right-hand guy that looks at things differently.
So let's drill a little bit deeper, because people haven't watched it, maybe will never watch it. So which key traits does Harry have that you're looking for?
Harry's been to university, done a degree in business, done a degree in economics, numbers, business. I'm dumb. I'm an electrician. I've got ideas, but I need that guy next to me. Ray Kroc, but we wouldn't have McDonald's today as it is without Harry. So I looked at when I saw that movie, and I saw that, and I thought, I think it's so underrated, and it's so underrated in the movie, but it's just underrated. Like, you have the right guy next to you, the right person next to you that does what you don't do well, and I do not do that well. For me, that's who I'm looking for. That will take us to the next level. The other two wishes, I've got so many things I want to do. I've got not just ideas. I'm building other things as we speak, but I need to fund them. So, but that goes back to having a Harry, because we go and sit in front of somebody. He's articulate in that language. I'm not. I'm like, hey mate, I need money. But I don't need more than that. I need. For me, I'm actively looking for my Harry Sonnenborn.
Got it. And then the last thing, we spoke about it before. If you want to bring it up, it's up to you. But you mentioned there's a business for sale in Australia that you want to sell in Australia. Is that correct? Nope.
No, we're expanding. We're opening up in Australia. I'm also building a platform for tradespeople in Australia.
That's it.
Yeah, so that's one where I'm looking for funding, but we don't need a lot. But again, I really want to find my Harry for that, to make sure, because with the business plan's written, that it's half built, but I just want to make sure everything's right. So that's a big play though. That's a big business, that one. So, or it will be once it launches. But I get it. All goes back to, I've got a method. I get the right people in the right place. I'm not that person to run anything.
All right, so last few questions from me. Remember, if you have any questions, everyone's being very timid tonight over here. They're like, I don't have a question, but I know you do. Just raise your hand. So last few questions. So I think we've gone through a few things now. We've gone through a bit of a journey, right, on kind of the requirements, the characteristics, the traits, learned behaviors, skills. You mentioned quite a few of them, right, which is about find what you're good at. Stay in your lane. Find other people that maybe share the same values but have a different skill set to you, right? That helps. You've spoken about, being thorough in your business plan, right? Which people don't think do much anymore, right? Maybe
it's the old measure twice, cut once.
Measure twice, cut once. There's a question. I knew there was one. Brother Guzman, when you're ready, the microphone here to Naomi. And all right, so you've mentioned some critical parts of this. We've kind of got a sense of you that, again, when it comes to the green entrepreneur, that in a way, my words, not yours, you almost feel like an accidental entrepreneur in some ways, but very deliberate in others, which I find quite fascinating. So the other thing that you mentioned as well, which kind of took me a bit by surprise, what was it? Trying to remember. Yeah, it was the fact that that Harry Sonnenborn, that you were able to kind of break it down and add, the college smarts, the college brain, has studied economics and has studied all of these what I call baseline critical thinking skills in an economic situation. So I was able to see the trends and help that way, which I think is really good. And the last part, just want to thank for your honesty, right? Because again, a lot of people maybe have a feeling that they need to show up and to be everything for everyone. Whereas I think where you have said is that you were arrogant when you were younger, right? Maybe last year, not so much younger than you are today. But won't go. Maybe last week, right? Last week it was arrogant, everyone. Last week, arrogant like you wouldn't believe. So you mentioned in the past, that the arrogance and how that's kind of mellowed, and now it's more, being honest. Just calling it out for what it is, and being clear about what it is that you require. So thank you.
Well, you can be successful or you can be right.
Yeah. Got it. Great. So now we have a question. So Naomi, over to you when you're ready. That mic will take a few seconds to mic up.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. First of all, thank you. It was very, very inspiring, and it's always good to just have little reminders, I guess, in this long journey of entrepreneurship and all of that. So my question is I kind of already answered in my head, but I have this tendency of focusing on the how, rather than maybe putting my energy in the result or the why. And I guess it's kind of difficult for me to really understand how let's say you have an idea, you're building this idea, you're running your business plan, and you say you need to give the thing that you don't really know, find your people who will be able to handle that, right? But to find those people and maybe to collab or work with them, you also need funds. You need to pay them, right? Or you need to. So it's maybe a money question. I'm just wondering, there's a lot of things that I know that a lot of people will do better than me, and I feel a bit overwhelmed about the marketing and selling and all of that. So how do you find your people without how can I say it? Yeah, without being focused on how am I going to pay those people? I don't know, how do you collab, in nowadays where everything is going around money? And
I'm actually in the process of that right now. There's 3 businesses I'm launching, and I need certain people for each one. And so I sat down with them, and I said, basically, this is where I want to go with it. This is what I want to do. They bought into the idea. That's key. Otherwise, they're just an employee. So it's you get a percentage of this. What do you need to eat? How much do you need to eat? Because you're going to have to help build this, because you're going to be an owner. So there was ownership, not as far as shares. Ownership is in we're doing this together. Mm-hmm. And then it's you know what? I got to find that money. So if I have to sell a bike, if I have to go and whatever, I'll cut my hair and sell it. If you ever want to see something to answer your question perfectly, go watch a TV show called Undercover Billionaire. Okay. The guy starts with $100 in a town he doesn't know. Okay. No phone. He's got a phone but no contacts, and he has to build $1 million business in 90 days. Okay. And it's amazing what he does, the how he does it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then there's series 2, which is good. But for me, it's bite off more than you can chew. And learn how to chew. If I know I've got to find $500 next month for somebody, I'm going to find that money. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I also make sure that they've got some skin in the game as well. Unless they're just an employee, but that's later on. So everyone I've ever have involved with this, they get bigger piece. I'd rather have a smaller piece of a bigger pie. So I get people on board and give them a piece of the pie. They buy into the dream, and we do it together. But I don't. Yeah, it's basically if I agree to it, we got to find it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You can do it. You'll always find it when you need it, right?
Oh, that put 2 more questions. 2 hands run up.
Thank you, Naomi. Another questions. Yeah, I'm on the way. I'm making business plan right now. Yeah, I just wonder why it takes too long for you, 3 years, and then become to be entrepreneurs. Do you have any what is called idea to approach, in Indonesia we have angel investor or people that become social social entrepreneurs we can approach. This is my idea. I'm gonna sell my idea, and I approach them. And then, do you have any idea the same as me, or what is happening in Australia? Because in Indonesia, my background is journalist, so I can connect with my networking in Jakarta or something. So it's for me, I don't know if maybe too optimist. I'm gonna make a business plan like a 6 month and make a like projection, break even point, and then just convincing to my investor, and then the spirit of this is the quote from social entrepreneur that we doing this, we create value for people by doing blah blah blah, something like that. It is the key that people get empathy or something, so we can become a like magic word. Maybe I don't understand.
So, what we're going to do? Thank you, number one, for bringing that up. 'Cause I know that part of this as well, and it happens to me as well, is that I'm thinking as I'm talking, and then sometimes the question comes at the end, not at the beginning. So, being that you've kind of explained a little bit now, so if you had a question to ask, what would the question be?
The question is, why is take too long, like 3 years? To I don't know. To get the people that the best skill set for you, and to get an investor or whatever. What is your obstacle? So being takes so long.
So you're talking about when I first started?
Yeah.
So when I first started, I was 20-something years old, working full time, young kids. And I had no idea. I just had an idea of what I wanted to do. I didn't even know where to start. So I would come home from work, do a little bit, write something, try and put some numbers to it. Eventually, like I said, I got introduced to a professor at university. He gave me software that helped me fill in a business plan. That made it a lot easier. And then you'd have ideas, and what about this? And you would talk to a few people, and they'd say, what about this? So then you go back and redo it, and then I had to find money, and no one had done anything like that, like nothing close to it. So I didn't even have a reference to go to and say, is this any good? I knew it would work. I could see it would work. I just didn't know how to prove that to somebody. And then it just happened one day. Like I said, I nearly fell over, and we launched, and it went well. But I had no idea what I was doing.
You know what comes in as well is, so anyone know a poet, or was he a poet? I don't know. But Goethe. So Goethe is this poem called On Commitment. It's one of my favorite poems. And the bit I'm going to narrow in on, it says that the moment one definitely or truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. Yeah, so the moment that one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. So
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so it's brother T. It's amazing because providence is a place in America, but in this case, providence is about God, right? Whichever force of God you want to refer to that as, but it's making your own luck. So when you make a step in a direction, it's like the universe conspires to put things in your path to help you to get it. That can also appear as an obstacle. Damn it! I wish you'd just give me a hand, but no. Sometimes it's an obstacle. So in other words, what I hear from his story, what I hear from your story and other stories, including my own as well, is that sometimes when you just go for something, that's when the professor comes out and says, hey, Todd, I've got some software for you. You might want to use it. It might help to distill all of these thoughts that you have into one place, focused, that you can actually have penetration and power, Now, he didn't know that going in. So in many ways, just you showing up tonight with all the traffic and craziness that's going on, right? Just you showing up, there's something there. And it might be the words that he said. It might be a conversation that you have afterwards. It might be a conversation you have with someone else here. But yeah, that's what comes through of just putting one foot in front of the other, not knowing necessarily how it's going to happen, but planning as much as you can with a business plan. But just by you showing up, something moves, providence moves to kind of put people, resources, opportunities in your path in order to help you to achieve the result or the goal that you're shooting for. So this is just what comes in. Sister, thank you for that question.
Todd, really appreciate your honesty here. Thank you, inspiring. You've had experiences in doing business in Australia and now in Indonesia. So my question to you is, what has been the big differences between the two?
Good question. I'm still learning here. Again, luckily I've got good people with me that help, but I find Australia more organised but much more red tape.
Yeah. Bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah. I find certain conversations in Australia with technical people easier because we've done the same sort of training, I guess. I find that a lot harder here. But I find you can cut through the red tape a lot faster here because people can make decisions. It's not as bureaucratic.
So it manifests faster once you get...
Yes and no. Like, I struggle... I call it barley time. I struggle with that a lot. But, I spent 18 months trying to get one job in Australia because I had to go. It was a government and I had to go through. That's barley time. I think the level of professionalism in Australia is obviously higher in trades and things like that, which is part of what I want to bring here. Is the guys that work for us, we show them better ways. With this air conditioning thing that I haven't spoken about, I want to train the guys to be better as well. So, but the big difference, I don't know. The big difference here is, I guess Australian, especially. I mean, you can throw South Africa in the mix. I spent 6 months there recently, really sussing out the market. And again, it was different from Australia and here. But for me, Bali's home. I love the place, but I get frustrated by the Bali time, and the lack of proper training, no apprenticeship. It's like, why are we doing it that way? It doesn't make sense. So I get a bit frustrated, but like I said, I want to help the guys be better. So next time I do it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, any more questions? Anybody on this side of the audience? Do you have any questions? If not, it's okay. All right, we're thinking about it. All right, cool. So look, what we'll do is that we'll begin to the process of wrapping up. So, Todd, in about 2 minutes or so, I'm going to give you the opportunity to basically add something. Now, that might be you repeating something that you've said already, or it might be something that you think, you know what, I should talk about that, or I should bring that one up, or that one is alive for me right now. So whatever that is, you're going to get a chance to say it, and then we'll finish after that. Also, if you feel as though you want to let people know how to contact you, if that's for any other purpose, feel free as well to leave people, a way to connect with you, whatever that might be, if it's LinkedIn, whatever it might be, just let them know. And if there's anything else on your mind, you're going to get that opportunity. So, about 2 to 3 minutes. So, for those here, just want to thank Tropical Nomad for allowing us to be late. Mamma mia! Unbelievable traffic. Unbelievable. So, we got Brother Hadis, we got Guzman, who's gone for a walk, coming back. So, thank you very much indeed, guys. Our technical partner here, the last 270-something episodes. Guzman, I remember the first time that we did an episode. Now you're doing all those things by yourself, and Hadis is just amazing. So, it's amazing the growth that we've had and all these wonderful people that we've interviewed here that's created this extraordinary network that we have 10 different market sectors. We're connected to the leaders, the stakeholders, the innovators, the disruptors of each one. And that's led to us being this gateway to Indonesia and Australia, where I spent 25 years, for foreign companies and individuals who want to either enter, and that's especially the local market entry, the PMAs, that kind of thing. Many companies do that. But what they don't do and can't do is, how do you integrate locally, right? How do you find your customers and clients locally? How do you find and leverage those key symbiotic win-win relationships locally? And that's what we're really good at doing. And then that's why we're called, known as being a very good super connector. There's lots of social enterprise and social impact projects that we're doing. One is called Tabanan Community WhatsApp, and what's that is simply about is that Tabanan is a place which I love. It's a place where our family first connected to when we first came back to Indonesia about 8 years ago or so, and fell in love with it. Ended up meeting one of the prominent Balinese royal families, and we've been working together for 5 years, 20, 30 events, thousands of people, being this intermediary, this gateway, this vehicle between Westerners and Balinese culture, even though my Bahasa Indonesia is shocking, but it's a heart connection, people. And then that led to working with the government, which led to this beautiful regency and meeting some of the incredible people there, wanting to form a group, 300 plus stakeholders, leaders, innovators, disruptors, Indonesian and Westerners coming together to solve a challenge facing Tabanan. So that group is for those who love Tabanan, who are interested in Tabanan as a regency. So please feel free to reach out, and then we can help you connect with that one. That's one thing. And there are many other social impact projects that we do as well, because we love Bali, and we want to make sure that we work together to conserve, to protect, and to regenerate here in Bali. So I think that's probably enough I wanted to say for now. And next week we have a health segment. So the first Monday of every month. This is I think the 36th, 7th episode where we team up with Health Hub Bali, which is an incredible health tourism platform, and we go deep. From the time we started to now, we work with government, from the leader of Bali Medical Tourism Association to other government bodies to private bodies, which are hospitals like Siloam and so on. So it's a very interesting episode that we do once a month with different guests. So if you're interested in health in Bali, that's health and medical, make sure you come next week, meet the wonderful guests that we have. It's always I always learn so much from that one there. So thank you to the audience for coming. Appreciate you for coming, especially during the traffic tonight. Crazy. Brother Todd, thanks for saying yes and coming and being honest, vulnerable, and open. And now the floor is yours. If there's, again, anything that you want to reiterate or anything that you feel called to share, your time is now.
I think for me it would be to reiterate what you said, and it kind of goes in with what my mantra with your poet. I can't repeat what it. Yeah. Bite off more than you can chew and learn it. Get going. If you're going, it's like an asteroid flying along. It sucks things in. If you've got momentum, get started. Be organised, but get started, and things will come. People will come to you. Some of the people I've met and the opportunities that have come has not been my doing. I'm not that good. They've come to me because I'm doing so, and then someone hey, you should meet this person, and the biggest takeaway for me, and you'll laugh because this is what I said to Rob last week, is just bite off more than you can chew and learn how to chew. That's really become my mantra. And then get the good people around you. I don't think it's really that hard. And then, have your reason. You said it before about your why. Mine is I will never drive a Lamborghini. I want to look after orphans. I want to look after widows. I want to build an orphanage. I've got a whole plan for that. That's my driver. Every dollar I make, that's with that in mind. I think a why is probably a big thing that we haven't mentioned.
Thank you very much, everybody. A round of applause, please. Todd.